It's not just the death of competitive Magic that you should care about, especially with the introduction of MagicCons. It should also be the removal of the GP system. And that's kind of what Martin Yuza wants to talk about here with this tweet. And I wanted to kind of extrapolate on some of the tweets that were responded to here, some of the quotes and everything, and everyone going in and talking about the reasons for why the GPs were gone, maybe some alternative systems, and those of you that are maybe more enfranchised, the biases you might have in terms of why the old system would work better than the current one. I wanted to approach this for the casual player, the enfranchised player, and anyone in between. So hop in, let's talk about Martin Yuza's tweet on can we bring back GPs with Pro Tour slots? Why do Pro Tours need to be 200, 250 players? Let more people achieve their dream of making it to the Pro Tour and give big organizers, multiple PT slots, multiple day events. People want to play meaningful tournaments and they want to make it to the PT without having to grind through multiple layers of qualification events. And I think that's a very big point to kind of just talk on here for competitive Magic. It is very convoluted now. For the old system, it was very clear. You went to a giant, a GP, a Grand Prix in your local city or one near you. You attended it, you tried to spike it, you day two'd, you appeared all over the Magic news and with your spike brew and you had your little Cinderella dream. Everything and anything, and then you qualified from there to the Pro Tour, to which you could then go to Magic Worlds, achieve your Magic dreams. And I think for a lot of people that was a dream outlined and made sense because of the fact that it was the only system that we had. We didn't have an alternate. And with the rising change of social media, how we did events, esports, everything, and the way the world evolved in terms of digital media, it made sense that this was the change, that MagicCons was the natural evolution of this. Providing more to the casual was a better return on investment for Wizards of the Coast, especially being under Hasbro, a largely money losing company, whereas Wizards of the Coast is one of their subsidiaries that makes money, profit year over year. And that's because of some of the casual decisions that they made to cater towards the Commander players, cater towards new folks coming in through the universes beyond, and having these IPs be the recognizing factor for the game. It's not just about making net new planes like Innistrad and returning to Ravnica. It's also about catering to other universes, having Transformers sets, My Little Pony specials with their charity events. It's about all this coming together that makes the MagicCon what it is to replace the Grand Prix. And I think Anurag Das here talks about it really well with his answer here. The easiest is really just that ROI probably isn't there. Everyone wants GPs back, but not at the cost. Would attendees be paying $150 per event entry if that's what it took to get the GPs back? I mean, what if the price was higher? I think a lot of average casual players would say no. They would not be paying that. That is honestly a very large thing to be paying, especially for an event that comes up that may not provide you a lot of value. A lot of the cost of these events, honestly, especially near the end of the whole GP system, went towards not the value that you were getting. You were getting like maybe a Mutavault promo, a cheap deck box, a playmat, all this stuff. And you were getting maybe like an entry into something else as well. But the main event, a large part of it was like 90, $100 worth of it was going towards just funding the event itself. And that's just a value proposition that you have to make for you. Is that something that you're okay with going X and 2, X and 3, paying $90 for that, but having to pay for the fun of others? Is that okay for you to help fund that event? And I think for a lot of casual players, no, because their dreams are very casual. They want to play highly competitive Magic, but they don't necessarily care to day 2 top 64. They just want to play some good Magic, get better, and just be a part of the gathering, be in a room with like-minded individuals that, just they may not be getting at their LGS. Maybe they're at a small LGS where Modern Knights only go up to 20 people, or they're at an LGS where they don't have the format that they play. They ended that because of lack of support, and so they have to play Magic Online or just Arena or whatever it might be. These GPs, these big gatherings, not only with their main events and their side events, provide that outlet for the gathering, but the cost is absolutely insane. And so let me lay the groundwork here. What does it mean to be in a MagicCon? What is the current value proposition that the GPs didn't have, but MagicCons now want to provide to you? And I think where that comes with MagicCon Las Vegas, we can extrapolate from that because this is the largest Magic event. This is, if you were to go to a MagicCon, you would likely go to MagicCon Las Vegas, right? not only because of it might be farther away from you, but in terms of the people that you're meeting, the things that might happen there, the main events, Magic Worlds, everything that you may want to participate in. If you were to shell out for a vacation or a couple weekend or a weekend or a drive out to something like this, you know, with something like the badges, you have premium day of availability, you have regular availability in terms of badges, and then you have some youth admission. I do really wish the youth badges were maybe a lot cheaper, heck, even free. I think maybe for folks that have kids that are bringing them along, that might be exploring Magic, I just don't think paying this amount of money for this is fair. Just have them come in, participate, and give them out some promos. I don't know. Like, I think there's a better way that we could do that. But not only do you have to pay for the badges, but what are you getting for that in terms of the people that you're meeting? Well, you have very big guests like Gavin Verhey, Josh and Lady Danger from the Command Zone. And then also you have Mark Rosewater and then Melissa DeTora, the Professor. A lot of these folks that you may recognize from the content that you consume, from the social media threads that you're in, heck, even the competitive sphere that you're a part of as well. All these personalities that you may get to meet, speak with, maybe get them to sign something that you have. And also, what about some of the artists? John Avon, for those of you that have been living on a rock and don't know John Avon, look, Cedar Synod, all you Pauper players, for all you Eternal Magic players that love the Artifact Land, City of, for all you humor loving players as well, and then Lotus Field. I mean, John Avon is just one of these artists that have been around for so long. Chances are that the artists coming to MagicCon Las Vegas, in a competitive deck that you have, in a casual deck that you have, you probably have a couple of cards, if not the main art, but the alternate art was made by these folks coming to this event. So for those of you that like your signatures, like your foil signatures, like to flex that you have this is a big event for that in terms of value. And for a lot of people, in terms of collectors, they see this as a value add. For, you know, kind of in the objective sense, signing a card obviously decreases the value because you're damaging it. But from a collector's perspective, especially for really high value cards like fetch lines and stuff, a lot of these signatures can add value in a lot of folks' minds. Maybe not on the selling back to a local game store, but on the secondary market, it can for a lot of folks. But Andrea Mangucci talks about, I mean, I have a friend who spent 450 European dollars on a standard deck to play the RC, who qualified to via playing sealed, since nobody plays standard in our area. I will never play that deck format again. Yeah, people will pay $100, $150 for an entry fee. Now, one thing I do want to note here is this is kind of the first inclination of a biased perspective. Andrea Mangucci, being a more enfranchised player, will likely surround himself and know and be around more enfranchised players than average. He would likely not surround himself with casual players, because he would want to play with, train, and practice with more enfranchised players. Now, that is more likely, right? I'm not saying that is 100% of the time that's going to happen with players like him, but because of that, he knows these enfranchised players who would spend this amount of money. $450, 450 European dollars on a standard deck, in my opinion, is absolutely insane. That is probably the worst money-making decision you could ever make playing Magic. Just go on Magic Arena. I understand that you have to rebuy your cards there, and some decks might be more expensive there, but you could play at hand whenever you want there. You could play in these big events there as well. And there's just so many ways to engage with the game, so that those cards that you have now have the ability to be played in Historic, in Timeless, in Brawl. Like, all these cards that you have can then allow you to play into different formats that you don't even know that you like, but then can also help you get into other formats. For example, if you build a standard deck with some powerful cards, you could put them in your Brawl deck. You like Brawl, you hop into Commander. There's so many ways to hop in, whereas these standard decks, you may not have that exact one for one, because the cards that you have a lot of time just going to be bulk bin. They don't go into a lot of these other formats. And if you're a paper player, the money invested, you're probably going to keep into these certain kind of formats that you have. And standard just isn't that, standard just isn't that kind of highly played. And especially just qualifying via sealed, a lot of folks don't play limited. A lot of more enfranchised players will be playing limited. There is a big limited kind of pool out there of casual players that want to get into it. It's a very different environment, and it definitely teaches you a lot of positive Magic skills. But this right here is describing an enfranchised player. This is a biased perspective. This is not a casual player that's getting any amount of value from this. I mean, look at Todd Anderson's response of, do people not remember that they started charging $80 to $100 for Grand Prix at the end? I mean, yeah, that's what was happening. I remember participating in these Grand Prix. GP Toronto, I remember way back when. I think it was like 2017, 2016. I can't even remember at this point, but way back when. And the amount of money that you had to, play Modern at that point, like it was a larger amount of money for me at that time, especially the average Magic audience being somewhere between the ages of probably 16 to like 35, right? Like folks in that age have a lot of financial instability, whether it be coming out of school, re-entering school, the job market being weird, layoffs, owning a house, renting, whatever. Like, there's so many things that come into play in terms of what people can afford and not afford. So many different financial situations that charging this amount of astronomical price on top of this just to go play standard, absolutely not, right? It's not even an eternal format. We're not even supporting like formats like Legacy, where more enfranchised players would hop in. That is a scene that would want to see something like this. Why don't we get these enfranchised events in there, like Legacy, more modern events? Heck, get even Pauper in there. Get these folks in there in terms of an accessibility perspective. And that is how you're going to get people to play in there. And I think Anurag's response down there, I think I'm going to further highlight here. Yeah, I don't know if I share that optimism, especially over time. I mean, the first one, sure, but people will be hyped to show up. But the 15th one, the 10th one, it'll just be people who are very local and diehard PT competitors. The more I think about it, the more I think, let's just hop back here. The more I think MagicCons basically nailed the GP style event structure. It gives an excuse to run a large 100K event while also having attractions that appeal to the largest demographic of attendees. And that's kind of what I was trying to highlight earlier. You have a lot of guest speakers that come in, a lot of events such as the Command Zone, a lot of cosplay events, a lot of casual events, signing your stuff, bring your kids to learn Magic. There's a lot of learning Magic events as well, a lot of vendors. And so having the multiple attractions outside of the side events, outside of the art wall, you know, just having all these things that you can go to as a player to get your cards signed, to play in. I mean, I think Anurag's right, nailing it, that this is the kind of GP style feel that MagicCon's really nailed. And it's really catering to the casual audience, catering to everyone. And that's what's important. It's not just about providing more PT slots. That's not what's going to get people in. People may want to pay for those tournaments, but that's not everyone. That's not what everyone wants to be doing. And so that's what's important here. So when it comes down to it, Andrea responded, I mean, in Europe, we had a Legacy European tour hosting a €100 main event and a €100 side event, and having 500 plus people regularly without invites to the PT. And I think €150 for a GP event with 8 invites to a PP, easy. Again, as I mentioned, Legacy, this is a Legacy European tour. The Legacy events are not part of MagicCons or GPs. This is not a format that is being supported by these events. This is the only outlet, likely a large scale only outlet, that Legacy players have to attend these events. This is a biased sample size. This is likely the only event they have. So as an enfranchised Legacy player that is paying $2, $3, $4, heck, even $5,000 plus for a Legacy deck, of course you're going to want to pay something like this. This is jump change when you're investing that amount of money into Magic and being a part of a group of people that play Magic at this high level, to understand competitive Magic and Magic interactions at such a high level. Of course you're going to want to pay something like this, but this is a biased sample size. You got to think about the average local competitor, the average player, the commander player, the standard player, the brawl player, like the people that want to join these events but then are seeing that the main event is standard, the main event is pioneer, it's modern, oh, that's too expensive, why would I even come to this? Because there are no artists, there are no multiple side events, there's no people that I want to see. That was what the old GP structure was like, right? They didn't have the money necessarily to pay the artists well. I remember, a lot of you do remember, in franchise players, where they were not paying artists the appropriate amount of money to attend these events, and artists would be making money off of the things that they would be selling. But even then, would it make that worth it? Unless you were a very big and franchise artist in Magic, it probably wasn't worth it for you. If you weren't a John Avon, a Chris Ron, anyone like that, you weren't really making money off of stuff like this, because people didn't want necessarily in droves to come have you sign their cards and buy their art. So it's important to see that there were a lot of flaws in the old GP system. And what Andrea's talking about here is a very biased perspective. And a lot of people that say they will be paying $150 plus for it aren't speaking for the vast majority of players that are casual, that are commander players, that are arena players, that are simply go to the LGS once a week type of player. That's not speaking for them. You are more enfranchised, and that's the voice I think is what should be heard here. Nikachu's response is really interesting as well. I think they should do what they already do for MagicCons, have a huge price tag and give a bunch of product to let attendees feel like they got value. Additionally, and alternatively, prizes can just be high value cards like they do with Secret Lair Showdown. That's got to be financially more accessible than putting in a prize pool. Now, this is an idea I can get behind, and this idea we're going to explore in the next tweet as well, the final tweet, talking about providing alternative pricing structures, right? Providing high value promos that you can only get once or are very rare. And Other card games like Lorcana and the One Piece TCG already do this. For their high flying events, they only provide promos, and these promos are artificially inflated. I will say the One Piece TCG, some of these cards being worth thousands of tens of thousands of dollars for the promo is artificially inflated. That is all just player wants, but it doesn't mean that we can't have this for these GP style events as well. It would be more attractive for the average player to win multiple smaller events if they could win something like a one-time promo Watery Grave, a one-time promo Polluted Delta, heck, even a commander staple like I don't know, some type of mana rock, like I don't know, some type of high value, super expensive, heck, Great Henge. I don't know. I'm just naming cards off the top of my head here because everything is escaping my mind as I get through this point. But I think high value cards and product is a great way to do this because it's something tangible. It's something you feel, especially with entry. It's not just low value promos like mutables and counter spells. A lot of folks don't care about this because they might not be in a format that they play. They might not be useful in a commander deck they play. Heck, they're only an arena player and they're here for their friends. They might just be giving the promos away to them, and the friends may not want them as much either. They might just resell them for value, like all this stuff. Give players product, and they're doing this right now. There are a lot of entry prices that include the special collector boosters for upcoming sets, which are good value propositions as well. More product and things like that. I think you could choose right. They should continue this. And the pricing, I think, can be stepped up by not only providing cash incentives, but also product incentives, one-time promo incentives, because these are things, look, I don't want to get into the whole Magic finance side of things, but I think it's really important to address the fact that a lot of folks would want cards like this because it's cards that you can invest into as they increase in price. If you had a Magic promo, let's say a promo Polluted Delta that only was available through the GP circuit that year. If you're this far in the video, I want you to guess how, I want you to just give me a random oddball number of how much that would be worth. Imagine there was only 8 MagicCons in a certain year. And every single MagicCon, the main event, if you won that main event or a side event or just one event in it, you won a promo Polluted Delta that could be only found, and it was guaranteed it could only be found there. And this was kind of the second printing of the reserve list, which is perfectly fine because you can access Polluted Delta in other ways. They can reprint it in other ways. It was just this art you can only get from here. How much do you think that would be worth? Way more than the cash prize in a couple of years. And I think a lot of people would enjoy that value proposition way more than a cash incentive. And I think something like that is very easy to pay into because the organizer doesn't have to pay direct money into this. Wizards of the Coast literally prints a piece of cardboard, provides it to the organizer, and that's it. That's the solution. Stop providing tens of thousands of dollars to competitors when they want something like this. Let me know in the comment section down below. Wouldn't you want a special promo card over something like this? Maybe a little bit of cash, sure. But then you know, these organizers wouldn't have to shell up this amount of money and they could just get these cards printed directly from Wizards of the Coast to just provide as winning. And then for the player themselves that wins these cards, of course they would love this because this is definitely just cash incentive. They could sell it to collectors. They could sell it to local game stores. And again, these cards being printed are perfectly fine because reserve list on art is perfectly fine as long as you can access the base card in a different way. As long as you can access the base card through regular printing and reprints, this is perfectly fine. And I think this is a fantastic alternative solution that no one is talking about. And that is the thing that I think is a big outcome for this. Bash M. Callister here brings it up as well. Lorcana has had massive tournaments with 100K plus in price cards. One Piece does this bi-monthly. They definitely do. All this needs to happen for GPs is to work is WotC needs to print limited price cards people want. They can literally print $1,000 bills. The market can handle the rest. And I think this is a largely important point that no one is talking about. Wizards of the Coast has a way to provide accessible large-scale GP tournaments to make them more money by, you know, having the kind of organizers not having to shell out as much money, but they can literally print $1,000 bills in just cardboard and provide them as alt arts. You don't need to be providing just secret layers like the secret layer Walking Dead where you had mechanically unique cards. Don't be doing that. Just print alt arts, not of duels, but of like commander staples, of, you know, constructed Magic staples. Again, the fetch lands are the first one that come to mind. For commander, it could just be an exclusive Soul Ring, an exclusive Psych Rift, Great Henge, like different high value mana rocks. Like I again, all this stuff can come together to provide a lot of value to the average player, because then this type of spread can be seen for other players. It's not just about the money, it's about acquiring this card. And a lot of people will come to the GPs, provide money, and kind of a lot of the collectors will hop in there as well as saying, I want this card. I want to fight for this card. And for those of you that have won, I want to buy the card off of you. And so this provides a lot of mini economy and a lot of conversation in it as well. I think this provides a lot of attendees and a lot of incentive to enter the format on top of product. Give folks the booster boxes, the play boosters, the collector boosters, but also these kind of $1,000 bills that they could print out at no additional cost to what they're already doing, and just commission out an art. Heck, what if you did this? What if you did this? What if you had John Avon come in as an artist for that event? And then you said the Polluted Delta artwork that we're printing as a one-time for this year, the GP is kind of signed by John Avon, or the artwork is done by John Avon. You tell me the winner wouldn't take that card, go immediately to John Avon and sign that? You got a John Avon signed foiled Polluted Delta that exclusive to that year and will never be printed again. Come on. That is free money. This is free ideas. Free ideas to change and revolutionize the MagicCons system. This is the way. I'm telling you right now, this is the way of the future when it comes to competitive Magic. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. There's a lot that I had to kind of rant about and talk about there, but I think all of it is very relevant. I think this is a really interesting discussion to have in terms of the future of MagicCons. And honestly, I think it's the way of the future for Magic and honestly, the Gathering.